Explosive growth for this company, and this is probably the next generation champion that we really should be looking ahead at. So yes, House Party, as we mentioned, the competitor, younger generation version of Zoom, 50 million signups is just in the past 30 days, 70 times increase in usage, and this is from Epic Games, which paid an undisclosed amount for House Party last year. Don't forget, they already have Fortnite, which is the biggest video game on the planet, and then really the backbone, as some say, the jewel in the crown, is something you may not even have heard of. It's called Unreal Engine, which is a software code, the backbone of hundreds of video games. So this company is still private at this point, but they are raising at above a $15 billion valuation, looking to raise maybe $500 million to $1 billion. But when this does go public, you know, this is a name to really watch out for. We didn't even get Snapchat until 2011, and Uber was forged in the depths of 2008. So you have to watch out for the next generation of champions.
I'm watching Epic Games. All right, Jlo and Alex Rodriguez could soon be owners of the New York
Mets, and they might get it at a discount if, in fact, you have the baseball season cut in half, and that means valuations are plummeting as well. Right now, the Wilpon family owns the Mets, and they are motivated sellers, according to numerous reports. Now, Jlo and Arod combined, they're worth around $700 million, but they need more cash since it looks like the Mets, even with the season cut in half and values down by 50%, they still have to pony up $1.5 billion for the New York Mets. So they're coming up with a 4 to 5 member consortium that includes billionaires in Miami and also capital investing billionaires as well. But, you know, we had Arod skipping out on actually playing for the Mets back in the year 2000. And I like the way you say, how do you say Alex Rodriguez's name? You put an extra Latin spin on it, don't you?
What did I do?
You do Alex Rodriguez or something, just, you know, over the top, usually when you talk about Arod.
Oh,
it's
I'm
just
sorry
Arod.
about that. Arod. Okay, I'll try to get it right. Arod. Gronk, Arod.
There you go.
Jlo. I'm getting there gradually.
Wow. We had a barrel of oil actually being cheaper than a pint of beer, so that was interesting. But we call Heineken the Budweiser of Holland, according to our executive producer here. And beer volume dropped some 2% in the first 3 months of this year. For the month of March, dropped some 14%. Why? Well, you have bars and restaurants being closed because of the quarantines amidst this COVID-19 spread around the world. And Heineken has actually pulled their forecast now for this year. Another problem for beer and beverage companies is the fact that carbon dioxide from ethanol plants is hard to find these days. Since no one's driving and filling up their gas pumps, that means that ethanol plants aren't running at full steam, and hence you have the seltzers and the beers. They are having some problems, I guess, sourcing CO2.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that there's now a shortage of CO2s?
Yeah.
I thought we wanted to suppress CO2s.
Get it in the air somewhere as well. But, you know, beer consumption has actually dropped over the years because millennials don't want cheaper beer. They like the high-end stuff.
Whatever you say, Susan. I'll believe you. Thank you.
Including their $5.7 billion investment in Indian internet giant Jio. Now, this is India's largest mobile phone carrier, so they have 400 million subscribers. And by the way, this is also owned by India's richest man. Also, you know, it's arguable he's the richest man in the Asia Pacific if you compare him to Jack Ma, Mukesh Ambani, worth over $30 billion, close to $40 billion. And when you have him on board like that, that means there are a lot of avenues you can take and a lot of roads that open for you in India, which is one of Facebook's largest markets. 400 million use WhatsApp, 300 million use a Facebook app itself. So this is the largest pork processing plant for Tyson, which is one of the largest food companies across America. They are now closing down their Waterloo, Iowa pork processing plant, reopening Columbus Junction recently, and this is because of COVID-19 and the outbreak amongst its workers. So we also, as you mentioned, Smithfields, they've shut down South Dakota, Wisconsin, Missouri, JBS, which is another global large food producer, also closing down Colorado, Cargill also having plants impacted as well. And Stu, this is really hurting hog farmers. They have lost some $5 billion, decimating the rural population and the rural farmers. And some say that they probably need some help as well. But also it impacts the food supply across the U.S., with processing taking a toll on taking supply out of the market.
The food supply chain is being interrupted here by these processing plant shutdowns. I don't need to throw you a question which you have trouble answering, but are we in danger of shutting down the food supply chain for pork, for example?
When it comes to pork, possibly, since we know that hog farmers, they can grow the hog and they have the pork available, but if you can't process it, you can't get it to the food and table and stores.
Okay, here it comes. Susan, thank you very much.
iPhone SE set to launch on Friday. People have been testing it already, getting some rave reviews because not only do you get a smaller screen, cheaper price tag starting at $399, but you still get the same powerful chip that you get in iPhone 11, so you can pretty much do whatever you need to do on an iPhone 11 on an iPhone SE now. And one of the top Apple analysts says that it's actually selling better than expected with these pre-orders, and he's looking at the shipping rates. Also, he still predicts, though, shipments to be down about 20-25% in the second quarter of this year because of COVID-19. People are stuck at home. They're losing their jobs, so they don't want to buy $399 $1,000 price tag phone. This is getting a lot of attention. So Bank of America says that gold prices could reach $3,000 in the next 18 months. A lot of things have to happen in order for that level to be breached. Don't forget the record high for gold was back in 2011 when it hit 1921. So we haven't actually tested that level for close to 7 years now, 8 years. But Bank of America says that the Federal Reserve can't print gold. Financial repression is on an extraordinary scale, and gold is the ultimate store of value, and it's performed pretty well over the last 15 months. Now, I think the consensus is, Stu, that we'll get past 2,000 at least in the next 18 months, but to go to 3,000 in 2021, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I mean, you have to have a lot of I think, Federal Reserve action and central bank action, and there has to be a lot of market volatility to get there, right? Yeah,
well, a couple of world crises and throw in some inflation, and then maybe you can get to $3,000
an ounce.
But there is no
inflation. Have you seen it in the last 9 years? No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken a while to get up to 1,800, so we'll see. This Thursday, so tomorrow, these human trials could be starting on their vaccine candidates. And as you know, you've heard from the experts, including Bill Gates and even administration folks, that we will not get back to normal until we get a coronavirus vaccine. So Oxford's developing one, and they're getting around $24 million from the UK government to help in its pipeline development, which we know is very, very expensive. And then also we have Imperial College is getting another £22.5 million for their own vaccine candidate as well. And here in the U.S., Moderna, the most advanced vaccine candidate here in the U.S., has started human trials just last month, and there is a push on to get some sort of cure for COVID-19. Moderna, I should point out, Stu, got around $500 million from the U.S. government to help and aid in its developments. But most people say that even if we get through these trials, and probably late phase will be at the end of this year, we won't get a viable vaccine candidate until maybe the start of 2021.
Yeah, we need it fast. But we have to
digital sales outperformed for them in the first quarter of the year, up some 81%. And for the month of March, it looks like digital sales more than doubled. And that's because people are stuck at home. So what do they want? They want their guac and their rice and their beans. So they're ordering from Chipotle. Also, another headliner here is that they had to pay a $25 million fine. Remember that E. coli scandal that they went through back in 2015 and 2018, where more than 1,100 Americans were sickened? That's what the, I guess, $25 million was for. And this was found guilty in the, I guess, federal court in Los Angeles. But Stu, if you look at the stock, we're at 857. You know, during the depths, and I used to cover this company in depth, by the way, was at 289. That was the low for Chipotle at the end of 2017.
Yeah, I remember that.